Hello everybody, Alex Aquarius here. Tonight I'm going to tell you a story about an experience I had in 1983. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is so that you'll know that Christ exists and His name has power and He can save you. It happened to me. Not only does God exist in the spirit world, and not only do demons exist and the devil, but also Christ exists. And it's real. It's absolutely real. And I didn't even know this for sure until this happened to me, and I was 18. So it was in 1983, in February. I'll never forget the date. It's February 11th, 1983. So that's a Friday. Earlier that week, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, my friend Jeff and I had walked to the mall. And I was living up there because I had been a student in college, and I met a friend from California, and we dropped out after our first semesters in college. And we went to live in his grandparents' basement in Idaho Falls, Idaho on J Street, about 2 blocks from the Mormon Temple and Snake River. And we both had jobs. I was a busboy at the West Bank Hotel, which is that tall round building across the river from the temple. I was a busboy. I can't remember what Jeff did, but one night we walked over to the mall, and at that time they had these arcades in the mall where you would go in and play the games. This was before video games had come out. I think maybe Pong existed, and Atari 2600 definitely. But you'd go to the mall and we would play Tempest, and we were really good at Tempest, and we could go through all the levels and play for hours on one quarter. And these 2 girls were watching us, and we hit it off. So then we had walked. The girl said, we drove. We'll give you a ride back to your house. Okay. So we get in the car, and the girl driving goes, hey, you want to go see a house where they say these devil worshippers go? And my friend Jeff was like, yeah, that'd be cool. He's, yeah, man. San Jose, California, dude. He's like, oh, yeah, man, that'd be awesome just to look, man. And I was like, sure. So we go out, and it ended up being in our same neighborhood, about maybe 12, 15 blocks from where Jeff and I lived. And remember, this is February in Idaho. The average temperature, it seems like, in the wintertime in Idaho is somewhere below 0. And there was ice on the roads, and it was very slick. A lot of cars were still in chains. This girl didn't have chains, but she drove well. Everybody drives really well on ice up there. So we drove around, and we're going up a slope, up this alleyway behind the house. We drove past the front, and it was a weird little house with a roof that actually had one of those horn shapes on it, like it was built to be a church of some type. And we drove around, and it had alleys between houses in the back. So we drove around up the alley, and we went up right behind that house, and we looked at the driveway. And the 4 of us were looking, Jeff and his girl were sitting in the front seat, and I was in the back seat with my girl, and we were looking at the house, and all of a sudden I felt this, I don't know, it was a dark, cold shudder, like something just flew into me, like a demon or some kind of possession had just flown into my body or hit me. And at the same time, as I suddenly just froze, I hadn't even had a moment to say anything or react. The girl driving on my left in the front, she stomped on the gas. And we were on these little ice tracks in the alley, and she was like, all the way to the top of the alley, and turned left on the street and just started hauling ass down the street, And I leaned up to her. I said, did you feel that? And she goes, hell yeah, I did. And she just kept cruising. We were just like, oh, man. And then the other 2, Jeff and that other girl, they were like, what? We had to explain. So Friday came along, and me and Jeff and his cousin Robbie, we were in his grandfather's truck, and we were out carousing around. I think we'd had a beer or 2, and we were out cruising for chicks, we were out looking for women. So 3 of us are sitting in the front of this pickup truck, and we'd been at the mall, and It sounds so lame, but I was only 18. So we get in the truck and we're driving through the neighborhood. We were only a few blocks from the house. And I had this vision, this flash right in front of me of these police lights everywhere and just a bad feeling of bad trouble and all kinds of things happening. And I said, Jeff, stop. Let me out. Let me out. And he just looked at me. He goes, really? Before I said, we're going to get pulled over. I just saw police lights and everything, and I don't want to get in trouble. He goes, all right. So he pulled over. I said, I'll walk from here. I got out of the truck. Later on, the next morning, when Robbie and Jeff woke up, they told me that they got pulled over just a few blocks after I got out. Like within less than a mile further down the road, a policeman pulled them over. So I had some kind of premonition. So I go back to the house and I go down in the basement where we lived. And it was late at night. It must have been 10:30, 11 o'clock, I think. And I had folded clothes on my cot. I lived on a cot. Jeff and I shared a room. He had a real bed, and I had literally this wooden fold-up cot with the canvas in the corner. And his grandmother had washed my laundry and had my clothes there, and I was putting my clothes away. And I walked into the bathroom. I swear I saw something. As soon as I opened the bathroom door and flipped on the light, something dematerialized like right in front of me, and I looked. It was like something was in there, and as soon as I turned the light on, it just disappeared, and I saw it vanishing. And that freaked me out so bad, I turned the light off, and I turned right around, went back to the bedroom, and I laid down on the cot. And then this is when I felt this imminent, dark presence, like something had entered the room. And I remember I was just laying there, I was wide awake, and I'm laying on the cot looking straight up at the ceiling. And I looked over into the room and I felt this presence over here, and there was just this dark, swirling mass in the room. It was just a huge, it was all the way from the ceiling, maybe, 15 feet wide. It was just, and it was literally swirling like thick smoke, and it was just coming at me in this swirl. And I looked over at the window. We were in the basement, and you have these basement windows you can crawl out of that open up at an angle. And I looked up, my cot like this, and I looked for the window, and I could not even see the window. The moon was out, and that room was always lit at night by the moonlight and things like that. And the black, swirling, demonic mass in my room was so thick that I could not even see the window, period. Then suddenly, I just felt like I was pounced on. And I suddenly froze where I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. And I laid there and I couldn't breathe, and I just was, and the mass, it was like it was going into my mind telepathically or something, and it was just swirling, and all I could see was swirling, and I couldn't breathe, and I felt pinned and restrained. And then I remembered my mother had taught me that if that ever happened to me, or if anything demonic I ever saw, she told me actually raise your right hand to the square and say, get thee hence, Satan, or in the name of Jesus Christ. All I could get out was, Jesus Christ. And it unswirled and got off of me and left, and the room lit back up with the moonlight, and it was normal again. And actually, Jeff's grandfather walked in the room about 2 minutes later, and he had never come down there in that room. I'd lived there for 3 months, and he'd never come down there. And he said, is everything going all right in here? And I said, yeah, can you give me a blessing? He's a high priest in the Mormon church, worked in the temple in Idaho Falls, and that's what you do when you have trouble, you ask for a blessing. So that was my demonic attack experience. You know what it does? It lets you know in my lifetime I had never taken church that seriously. That's why I was a Sunday Mormon. I'm not LDS or Mormon, by the way, either. I don't believe in organized religion now. And I don't think Christ wants you to. Just like his example. So, what was I going to say? I don't know why people have demonic attacks when they're at a young age, or some of these people are pastors or preachers, or they're good people. And all the demonic attack does is teach you that Jesus Christ's name has power, and that not only does the evil exist, but then God exists and Christ exists because he saved you. So I don't see the point in these demonic attacks. If you learn that the name of Jesus Christ saves you, maybe that's the point of it. Luckily, I remembered what my mother had taught me. So I guess that's my whole point. What did I learn from this as a lesson? Don't dwell on anything evil. Don't talk about it. Don't joke about it. Jeff and I had all these jokes that week. All of our humor was devil or Satan based and worshiping. Another thing I want to tell you is Jeff and I went out after that night. We were with those girls and we felt that cold feeling. Jeff and I walked back over there the next day or 2 days later, and I thought, let's go over there and see it during the daytime. I was curious after what I'd felt, and as we walked by the front door, there was a preacher or somebody, looked like a minister, and he had the high collar and everything, and he was wearing a hat, and he was coming out the front door, and he was locking the door, and he looked at us, and we were on foot, and he just watched us walk by. And I think the guy put a hex on us or did something, because he may or may not have, but the way that you avoid these experiences is you avoid musical influences in your life. Think about the music that you're listening to, what the lyrics are about. If you're listening to pop music, rock music, country music, soul, hip-hop, rap, doesn't matter. I don't listen to that much music anymore. Of course, I'm older, it's easier not to. But just don't. Just give it up. Another thing is your movies. Are you watching movies that are horror and gore? And do you love horror films? And, like I never went and saw the movies about Saw. And I haven't really seen that many movies. And I've never liked gory blood movies where people get murdered. I've liked some sci-fi movies, but I never got into the horror, blood, and gore movies. Those are doors that you open for demons to possess you and affect you and attack you. Get those out of your life. I'm not saying you have to become a saint or that you have to actually pray every day. You can and you should. But get the things out of your life that are bringing low vibrations and demonic energy into your life, and things that can attach to you from those items, because it's real. And I'm only telling you this story because it's real. So thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for watching this. I'm Alex Aquarius.